Hello, welcome to our Percentile Vice. It's Tuesday, so we're doing actual play. I'm Steve, that's Emily, you know John, and returning is Alex. Alex, wave to the fine people at home, and we are joined tonight by Asa. Asa and Alex are the writers and developers of Backwater, a game which we are going to play tonight. I'm super excited to do so. Asa, I'm going to turn it over to you. Tell the world about yourself and about Backwater, and then take control of this thing because you are the master.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Asa. I'm one of the two creators for Backwater along with Alex. Alex and I have been friends for a long time. We actually met in a D&D group, and then I moved down to Arkansas, and Alex moved out to New Hampshire, and now I'm back in Minnesota. But when we were apart, we decided what better way to stay friends than to start making games. So that's what we did. And our first game was Backwater. It's a Southern Gothic horror tabletop role-playing game that we created and funded last year on Kickstarter. It's the first of what we hope will be many role-playing games based on what we'd call regional American Gothic horror tropes. So Southern Gothic horror, but it could be also New England, for example. It could be the Southeast, maybe something set in Georgia, for example. And we crowdfunded a second book, Backroads, which is set in St. Louis, and we have a couple other projects on our horizon for 2023. All of our games are set in post-apocalyptic America, known as the American lands, and Backwater in particular is set in New Orleans. So players take on the role of wardens. That's what hopefully you all know, that you're playing wardens tonight, who are the official peacekeepers of the American lands with a pretty broad jurisdiction. So I'll go ahead and get us started here. Let me just give a quick overview of our adventure hook for the evening. Mr. Hamilton King, a local executive for the Providence Trading Company, claims that somebody's been following him. He's unsure who is following him or why, supposing it to be envy for his wealth or maybe a jealous flame from his youth. And he's been begging his good friend, City Councilor Rose, to connect him with some wardens who can help him solve this mystery. The counselor has refused until recently, after the events escalated and Mr. King was attacked. Counselor Rose has requested that our wardens present themselves at their earliest convenience to Mr. King, indicating that they should deliver a letter of introduction to Mr. King's doorman as proof of their identity. But before we get started here, let's do some turn order. In Backwater, turn order is determined by your vigilance score at the start of each session. However, you're welcome to make a vigilance roll instead of using your score to get a better spot in that turn order. So, if you make that roll, you have to keep it. So if it's lower, you're stuck with it. So here's what I have for vigilance order. I have Emily, also known as Annabelle, at 14. I've got John, also known as Gail, at 12. Alex, also known as Swifty, also at 12. And Rick, also known as Fontenot, who is also at 12. So we'll have to have some roll-offs there unless other people want to roll to begin with.
I'd love to
Emily,
roll.
do you want to stick with your score?
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Okay.
Get to go first.
What about you, John?
I would love to roll.
You just want to beat me?
I have a skill for it.
Oh.
From being a seeker, I get to make a best of 2 on my vigilance roll for this, correct?
Yeah. And you just roll a d20 and you add your vigilance modifier. That's the little number with your vigilance.
First one is a 17.
Swifty's also going to roll.
Okay.
Second one's 11.
All right,
So it's
you get to
17.
keep that 17. And what do you have, Swifty?
And I got a 15.
A 15? Okay.
15.
How the mighty have fallen.
What about you, Rick? What does Fontenot have? Or are you keeping it? Or are you...
Fontenot's going to keep his 12.
Okay. Don't like to take risks. All right. So I'm going to use that for the turn order then throughout the game. So that's Gail, John at 17, Swifty, Alex at 15, Annabelle / Emily at 14, and then last but not least is Rick. Fontenot at 12. We'll go in order for according to that vigilance order and have you all introduce your characters. So starting with you, John, why don't you introduce Gail to us?
I am playing Gale Munson. He is a seeker from the Tidewater district, and he has the family fortune of merchant. He was originally a fairly well-to-do kind of guy, but he kind of liked stealing things and kind of got on the wrong side of the law one too many times, and the wrong side of a wealthy, powerful person one too many times, and in the end, he kind of had to hightail it out of the Tidewater and make his way down to the Backwater area. And he finds himself here now. And he is, while he's doing lawful things, keeping order and whatnot, he's also not necessarily unwilling to bend rules in his favor on occasion.
Nice.
I love it. And up next is going to be Swifty. Swifty, why don't you introduce yourself?
So tonight I'm going to be playing Swifty, who is a slayer. Swifty, his first memory was being found amongst the wreckage of his family's caravan way out in the frontier, basically. He was brought to New Orleans, where he was adopted by a wealthy family, but they resented him and he resented them. And so after kind of turning to crime, more as a way of acting out than any actual inclinations to crime, Swifty was saved by a passing warden when he had broken into a local gang leader's establishment and tried to rob it, and definitely would have been paced if the wardens hadn't saved him. So he now hero worships the wardens and enlisted on his 18th birthday. His family, who think this is much beneath him, have cut him off from everything. So he is, even though he's a fresh recruit, 18 years old, he's already just like haggard and poor and generally in need of a few good meals, which is why he tends to take on the more dangerous missions that he can find because they pay better. And that's Swifty.
I love it. Up next is going to be Annabelle.
Well, hello there. My name is Annabelle Crossley. I'm a seer from Lafayette. I find myself trying to help those in need regardless of their stature in the world these days. I find myself in many a back alley helping somebody who's on the wrong side of the law and may have gotten themselves into a spot of trouble. I find that I meet all kinds of interesting people in that line of work, and I've joined the Wardens because, well, I just feel that there's a lot of people out there need helping, and the Wardens is a great place to reach all those places where people just aren't getting the good medical care and the good help that they deserve in this world.
Good luck topping that, Rick. You're up next. Who is Fontenot?
Told you all I bring to the table is the voice. That's it.
Yeah, can I make a vigilance roll and try to go before her?
It's too late.
Yeah. Sorry, you're stuck behind her now.
My name is W.G. William Garrett Fontenot, but my friends, family, well, just everybody calls me Fontenot. I've come from a working class family here in Jackson Territory. Grew up with just a fine family, but spent most of my time with my good friend Elaine, who has incredible tinkering skills. He could just make anything work. But the most impressive thing and interesting thing about Elaine was his collection of artifacts from olden times, and I just coveted those things so much and wanted to get some of those for myself. So really, I've just joined the Wardens as an opportunity to travel this fair land and perhaps find some of those artifacts for myself.
Trying to get your hands on a computer so you can learn some hotkeys, is that right?
That's right.
Or these mysterious old world hotkeys.
Alt
Warm
D20.
your dinner over those hotkeys.
Hotkeys.
Yeah, so let's just do a little bit of connections between characters too to just build them up. So Gale, whereas you have a tendency to break rules, Swifty is a well-known rule follower. So this isn't your first job together. in the past, how have the two of you got along?
Well, we have a bit of an understanding about things, and we have one goal. We have to get the job done, and so long as I don't flaunt it in his face, he's okay with me bending rules, or he might not be, but I haven't asked him, and I try to, not let him see when I'm doing things that I know he wouldn't like, but in any case, as long as we get the job done, that's all that really matters, right?
Swifty, do you know when he's bending the rules?
Yeah, I mean, Swifty is the rule book. I've read it like a dozen times. But rule number one of the wardens is that rules might be made to be broken. Sometimes you have to be delicate in your application of the law, depending on circumstances and context. And while Swifty hasn't totally internalized that, he does try and live by that rule.
Well, Swifty, both you and Fontenot originate from the American lands lower echelon of society. So what sort of bond do the two of you have, and how did it form? That's you, Swifty.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that Swifty doesn't really have interests of his own, but he does get excited by other people's interests. This is a common character trait of characters I play. And so I think if Fontenot is loquacious or passionate about old world technology, Swifty would come at it from the, oh, my friend thinks this is cool, so I think this is cool. Not from a sense of like, I wish I had these things, but more from a sense of, the old world is so strange to me that the oddity of it and his passion for it makes it interesting for me. So it's less of a class thing, I guess, but more of just me being a sponge of interests.
And Annabelle, although you and Gail are from different parts of the American lands, you're both from the merchant class originally. How did the two of you meet?
Oh, well, that's quite the tale to tell. See, he wandered into town half busted up a leg, and I was about the only person in town willing to see him, given that he'd fallen on the wrong side of things, as it were. But, he seems to be quite the nice, sweet man, mon cher. But we take on quite well together, I think.
I'd have to agree. She's been good to me.
And Fontenot, you and your friend Annabelle both have a couple of pups with you. You got Pogo, who's your mutt, and Bones, the wolfhound. How do those two dogs get along, and how's that affected your relationship with Annabelle?
Well, now, here's the thing about Pogo. Pogo is what you might call vicious. Unfortunately for Pogo, he doesn't also realize he is extremely tiny. And his viciousness often gets him into predicaments where his tininess does not allow him to get out of. And he often finds himself, after creating quite a ruckus with his barking and yelping, then quietly tucking himself behind the hind legs of the wolfhound, Bones. And looking out from between those and continuing his vociferous uproar. Now, the two dogs have gotten along famously because, well, Bones seems more than happy to serve as the protector, and Pogo seems more than happy to continue to instigate situations. And I have found myself growing quite fond of Annabelle because she has allowed this to happen all along the way, whereas some folks would have asked me to get my vicious dog away from theirs.
All right, so let's get our adventure started. You all are going to be starting outside of King Manor, so that's Hamilton King's house. It's located at the northern edge of the French Quarter. It's close to the walled boundary of the Lake District, and it's in an affluent neighborhood that has a reputation for aristocratic wannabes. Still, King Manor is really impressive. It's wooden construction, built new, unlike most of the houses in New Orleans. Has this colorful pastel exterior with stained glass windows, decorative gables and eaves, and a rooftop finial in the shape of a crown. The front is adorned with a large oaken door beside a bay window, which is illuminated by candlelight, and it's in the evening right now. So you all stand before that front door.
Is there a footman or anyone that is waiting outside, or are we expected to knock?
Most people in high society might knock here. Not sure if that's something Swifty's familiar with.
I think if Swifty touched the doorknob, it would like tarnish. So he's going to look to his more wealthy compatriots and kind of nod his head gently.
Well,
I think we knock.
Gentlemen, it simply is unbecoming to just linger on porches, shall we?
I'm going to reach up and give a quick knock and look at Fontenot and be like, well, you might have to do the talking here. You know, I sometimes talk myself into a spot of trouble and these kind of things.
Well, absolutely. Who's got the letter? I don't believe I...
Oh, I've got it right here in my bag, Chef.
Perhaps you should hand it to me.
There you go. Yeah. Bones, sit. Pogo, go.
That was some expert rapping upon the door. I like the way you hit the wood right there next to the knocker. You could have just picked up and banged on the door.
That's too slow. I ain't got time for all that.
Well, doesn't seem to be anybody answering, so let me try that method real quick.
Fine.
I'll grab the knocker and let it bang heavily against the door twice.
And as you bang that knocker against the door, a middle-aged man opens the door for you, and he's sort of standing before you, this faded black waistcoat, purple cravat tucked into this sort of white dress shirt, and this is a footman. And he looks at you all expectantly, and then he holds out a silver tray.
Fontenot, he wants your letter, darling.
Oh,
I was about to say there ain't no food on there.
All right, so Fontenot is he is well beneath this station in life, but he's going to do his best to fake it. Yes, we have this letter of introduction for your master, Mr. King, and if you would be so kind as to provide this to him, that we might gain entrance to this abode, and I'll lay it upon the silver tray.
So he just says to you, I'll be back momentarily. And he lets you into the sort of atrium of this fancy house, but he stops you before the two pups come in. And he says, unfortunately, your dogs cannot enter the manor, but if you'd like, after I speak with Mr. King and see if he's available, I can leave him around back for you.
That would be simply delightful. We very much so appreciate that, sir. I'm sorry, I did not catch your name.
My name is Preston, Bo Preston.
Mr. Preston, it's a pleasure.
So he retreats with a silver tray in hand, and coming from downstairs, suddenly appearing is a maid, and she actually comes up and she goes to take the dogs. I don't know, how does Pogo react? I know he's a little bit wary there.
Pogo is going to take 3 very small steps forward, yap with all of his might, and then immediately take 5 steps backwards to position himself behind Bones.
I'm going to reach down to Bones and be like, Bones, take care of Pogo now. And I think Bones is going to kind of go back and nuzzle him and like, come on, let's go.
All right. So if he's all calm enough, then the maid will leave them around back here. Bo Preston the footman returns quickly and says, my master will see you now. And he leads you into the manor and into the drawing room, which has these really high ceilings with incredibly extravagant furnishing. Yet any class that this furnishing lends a room is sort of disrupted by some peculiar decoration. One wall of the study behind a pair of divans is filled with lithographed print posters and sign adverts from New Orleans Western Theater. And most of these adverts are signed by Marguerite Lynn, the theater's up-and-coming actress. Mr. Hamilton King is waiting for the wardens here in the drawing room, where he's sprawled out on a divan. He's holding a lit cigar in one hand and a half-empty drink in the other, with a large plate of meats and cheese on a refectory table in front of him. And in an accent from New England, he says, "Wardens, pardon me if I don't get up. My joints are killing me." And he gestures Bo Preston off. He says, "As you know, I'm Hamilton King. You all have probably heard of me, and maybe I've met some of you before, but I really wouldn't remember."
I'm going to say, you don't mind sharing all this, do you, as I walk to grab some meat and cheese and start eating?
Oh, if you'd like your own plate, I can get you one.
Oh, please.
And he rings a bell and brings Mr. Preston back in. Get this gentleman a small plate, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
While we wait, Swifty, who has not removed his official uniform cap, is standing like ramrod straight, salutes and is like, "Warden Gideon Swift and company, reporting for duty, sir."
And then Bo Preston returns, and he has a couple of platters for anyone who would like some meat and cheese. And he also says, if you'd like some water, I can get you some water as well.
I think I'm okay without the wash.
Well,
It's not safe to drink water.
I've heard about the water around here. I don't feel like I have enough time for bathroom right now. I'd just rather wait until, we got some beer or something.
Enjoy that cheese. Mr. King, we have been sent to be of your service. We understand that you require our protection. How might we do that and fulfill our obligations?
Well, you're here because someone's following me and recently made an attempt on my life. They killed 2 of my servants. And I have no idea who's following me or why. And, it could be for my wealth or one of my many old lovers. Perhaps somebody jealous of my relationship with Marguerite Lynn. And he gestures towards the wall. But what I'm looking for is somebody to look into this and figure out who's been following me, who made that attack on me, and who killed 2 of my servants.
Does Mr. King look like someone who would have lots of ex-lovers?
Is he fine?
No.
He's not fine, but anybody can have plenty of lovers.
I guess maybe
it's not fine.
Is an aphrodisiac. Okay, Swifty is not. He's not a man of the world. So he's maybe a little suspect about this guy, maybe boasting. But he's like, all right, where have you seen this person following you? Do you have like a set routine that that you've seen them before? Where were you going to or coming from when the attack happened? We don't have a lot of information here. Sorry.
Yeah, well, after visiting one of my construction sites one evening, I got the sense I was being followed. It was maybe 2 weeks ago. But whenever I looked behind me, there was no one there. So that's where it all started, but it's no routine. Later that week, I woke up to the sound of my horses disturbed in the night, and my stable hand investigated, and though he might have thought he saw someone, if he did, they disappeared instantly, and all my servants searched the ground and found no one.
Now, sir, you mentioned 2 of your servants having met their demise at the hands of this unseen personage. Perhaps you could tell us when and where that happened.
Well, that was the next thing that happened just 2 nights ago. one night I just deboarded my carriage and someone rushed at me from the shadows of my house. And while I bolted into my home, my chauffeur and stable hand dealt with the intruder, but unfortunately it ended with their death. And if anything, this is just another reason that I should be allowed to move to the Lake District, which is much more secure and more akin to my standing.
What was the cause of death for your servants? How did they die? And don't say horribly. I've heard that joke.
Well, you might have to ask the maid. She witnessed it. I didn't want to deal with the cleanup. But my understanding, I think their throats were slit.
Mr. King, I am simply smitten with your lovely companion here on the wall. Will you tell me, how did you two end up meeting? I'm sorry, I know it's a little off topic, but I just simply can't help but ask.
Oh, I don't mind. Miss Lynn and I are, as you might have heard in the rumors around town, we're very close. We just met one night after her show. I just happened to be there, having asked if I could be escorted backstage, and we really hit it off. You might have heard of us, seen around together at a couple of events, but she's just lovely.
Oh, she sounds like an absolute dream. How long have you two been courting each other?
Oh, well, I've been a big fan for months, but I'd say, a month or two. Yeah, about a month.
Certainly. Just one last question. I understand that you don't know of anybody off top of your head that may want to be following you other than some scorned lovers and the such, but does Miss Lynn happen to know of anyone who might be maybe a little possessive, a little jealous of your engagements with each other?
Not that I know of, and she's very hard to get time with her, but so many people are in love with Miss Lynn. I imagine it could be just about anybody who's jealous of our relationship. And he stuffs a bunch of meat down his throat.
Oh, I can certainly see why. She's quite the looker, Mr. King.
So while this is going on, I've got a little pad of paper out. I am taking furious notes. On one page, it says, there's a topic on the page, it says, things I might have heard. And under that -1 is that Hamilton King and Miss Lynn are an item. And I draw a little box to check next to it, but don't check the box. Hadn't heard that. And underneath that, there's some place called the Lake District that's even nicer than this, and I put a little box next to it. And I didn't check that box either because I hadn't heard. But I'm going to keep a running list of things I might have heard.
And subsequently have not.
I am completely out of my depth in this particular region of the city and social affairs. But would the maid that was the witness to the on time the death of your servants, would that be the same maid that we just saw in the atrium?
Yes, most certainly. That's Miss Levine. Most of my staff have been scared off, I would say, after the murders.
What? How big is your staff? Because you've got Miss Levine and Preston there, and 2 other folks that have been killed, and then the stable guy. You've got more than that?
Right now, just Mr. Vandergrease, the cook.
He does a right good job. These meats and cheeses are real nice.
Well, he got those from the butcher. He did not make those.
Oh.
I do have a question as my character. So I've got a lot of skills in like nurse and first aid. Judging by his physical, like the way he's sitting, and is there any noticeable signs of swelling or any signs of like that he's actually ailing, or is something else going on with him? Does he show sign of sickness or that kind of stuff?
Or is he just gouty?
Yeah, does he just have the gout?
He's got a bad case of the
Well, go ahead and,
vapors.
The vapors.
give me your nurse physical roll.
Okay.
And while you're at it, if somebody wants to, for example, Fontenot, you're asking a little bit about, or you're saying you haven't heard these things. If you want to check to see if you have heard these things, you can make like a lore urban roll or a lore history roll, either of those. So let's start with you, Annabelle.
So for my first roll, just so I make sure I understand. So I have a +3 in logic, which is the nurse physical skill, and then I also have skills in it up to a +1, so I'm a +4 to this roll, correct? Perfect.
That's right. You
Just
rolled a
making
d20
sure.
and you added to it.
I rolled a 14, so that's an 18 total on my nurse
Wow.
physical.
Yeah, so you look at him and you say, this guy's got the gout. He definitely has the gout here.
Okay.
All the signs that you're seeing.
Judging by his meal, no vegetables.
Yeah, and he doesn't seem super mobile. He, he can
Stiff.
get around and stuff, but yeah.
Certainly.
Now,
Wait, weren't you gonna roll something?
Yeah.
make your roll.
All right, so I'm going to do the lore history roll.
Yeah.
That is a 6 with +3 is 9.
9 total. And
Yes, 9.
what were you hoping to? Which one were you hoping to learn about?
I think I'm not surprised that I've not heard that he is seeing this woman. So I think I was hoping to learn about the Lake District.
Mm-hmm. So for the Lake District, I would say you definitely would know, even with just a 9 here. Lake District is sort of one of the bigger districts in town. It's like walled off right on the lake there. And it's like we're basically sort of like all the gentry here, all the aristocratic folk, the richest of the rich live. And he's sort of just off of it. He's outside of it, more in the French Quarter area. So high class, and he's like right on the edge of that society.
Swifty will also mention, because he sees you cogitating about the Lake District, that that's where the library is. And that's Swifty's favorite part of the city.
Ah. Well, when we get to the library, I could look up the word cogitating.
I learned that one from one of the books I read in the library.
Context clues.
Look at you.
So, Mr. Hamilton, now, judging from my past experience, you wouldn't have happened to have two of these old ladies at the same time concurrently that you were loving on, and one found out about the other, would you have? Because I made that mistake once, and it can have some lethal consequences.
Gail, that is simply inappropriate to ask.
It's important.
Mr. King, I apologize for my
We need to
outburst
know.
of my friend.
I find it both inappropriate and important. What should we do here?
Well, Miss, what's your name, Miss?
Miss Annabelle Crossley.
Oh, Miss Crossley, as you would know, a gentleman never tells.
As he shouldn't. Gail. I'm gonna do that like the mother thing, where when somebody looks away, she does like that really quick wrap across, like, stop it.
Ain't no wrath like a lady scorned. I was just trying to cover all my bases. I'm sorry.
Gail, you're about to find my wrath if you do not stop.
I
Sir, may we speak to the maid?
What was that?
The maid was a witness.
Oh, Miss Levine, she is probably downstairs right now. She may have retired for the evening to her quarters. Would you like me to call for her?
Yes, I think speaking to the one eyewitness we have of an actual crime would be a good place to start. At least so I read in the manual.
Yes, Chapter 3, Part 2.
Section
Ascertaining witnesses of crimes.
He rings his bell, and Bo Preston comes back up, and he says, will you please bring Miss Levine up to the drawing room here? Thank you. And he disappears downstairs. And moments later, Bo Preston comes back in, bringing Miss Levine in tow, and she is still dressed in her work clothes here. long, dark dress, buttoned up to the neck with an apron around it, mob cap on top, all that. But she's got her head down and she's sort of looking down towards the floor, sheepishly or timidly.
Well, Mr. King, I think referring to, what was it, Chapter 2, Section C? But there was
Chapter
a sub...
3, Section 2.
Right. There was... I believe I'd be following procedure to say I would like to step out into the hallway with Miss Levine and interview her in private.
Swifty literally opens his manual, goes to that particular part, and it's like, oh yes, witnesses must not be interfered with by superiors or employers. Good point, Fontenot.
If it's in the manual, I suppose.
Right here, sir. And Swifty holds up the book to him.
I will make, while I'm walking out in the hallway, make another notation on the page, things I might have heard, and this time I'm putting a check mark by it.
Fontenot, may I join you, please?
Yes, please. I think that would be appropriate.
Yes.
So, Miss Levine, we are led to believe that you were right out on the front steps when the attack occurred some 2 nights ago.
So she is sort of looking down still. She's fidgeting with what looks like a necklace around her neck. And she says, I saw the whole thing. Mr. King returned late one night from the Providence Company's current headquarters, and his chauffeur pulled the carriage around to the back of the manor and, near the stable and carriage house. And as soon as he popped out of the carriage cab and began to walk towards the rear door, this figure rushed out of the shadows at him.
Miss Levine, was the figure built more like Mr. Fontenot here, or more like myself and you? Was it a more frail figure or a more robust figure?
I'll immediately stand up straighter.
She's sort of fidgeting more with her necklace and still not looking up at you, and she just says, it's too blurry. I really can't recall.
Can I use my nurse mental skill to see if I can tell if she's evading or if she's just a genuinely coy person and doesn't know? Can I check to see if she's kind of evading me? Maybe deduce?
I would say normally that'd be assess. If any of you have.
I have some assess.
If you want to give it a shot.
Not much.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's a 0 because it's a -1 to 1. Never mind. No, I can try. Let's see. So I rolled a 14.
Yeah, there you go. You are pretty convinced that she's telling the truth, and it seems like she's extremely nervous, and you might also think maybe she was in a bit of shock, and that sort of muddled events for her a bit.
Okay. Miss Levine, when you say it's kind of blurry, do you mean your recollection, or that your vision on that night was blurry?
My recollection, she says.
Do you recollect these 2 gentlemen? Well, I want to put this as delicately as possible. Having incisions made upon their necks.
And she just starts weeping.
So much for delicacy. Miss Annabelle, maybe you should, and I should take a step back on this one.
Possibly. There, Miss Levine. Don't fret now. Who else was involved? I know that, Mr. King had swiftly went into the building, and you were out there. Was there anybody else who may have been outside at the time?
It was just, the stable hand came around for the horses, and then the chauffeur had gotten out of the car. He tried to stop the person from attacking Mr. King, and the person just killed him right away. I think slit his throat. I think, and And then when he fled, the stable hand grabbed the shotgun and shot at him. And I didn't think that he had missed, but there's no blood from that. And, they tussled and then they killed the stable hand as well.
Right. So, was there anything abnormal about the events leading up to this? Maybe the way Mr. King arrived home, the time, anything out of his normal comings and goings?
Well, he came back from the current headquarters, but I think this is maybe the second time that he's been suspicious after he had been visiting the construction sites earlier that day. And I think the first time that he thought someone was following him, that's where he was at too.
Certainly. And my last question, unless Mr. Fontenot has any more, what was he doing earlier in the day, or maybe the day prior? Had he spent any time with Miss Lynn?
She laughs and then sort of covers up her mouth pretty quickly and said, I've never seen Miss Lynn here.
He always meets her someplace else. Do you have any idea where they may meet?
I think that is a question maybe someone else should answer, but I know he sees her at the theater.
Okay. Well, Mr. Fontenot, do you have any other questions here for Miss Levine?
Well, ma'am, how close was the shotgun and the wielder to this assailant when the shot rang out that you thought hit, but no blood was found? How close was that?
Oh, maybe 10 feet.
And did the assailant then run off after that?
The assailant ran off when the chef and Mr. Preston arrived with knives and a firearm in tow, and they just disappeared. I guess actually right before that, and again, my memory is sort of jumbled here, but I tried to run as soon as I saw the chauffeur and the stable hand killed, but it was like I was just frozen in place. And the last thing I remember was the person, the assailant, approaching me and whispering something in my ear. But I just can't remember what they said or what they looked like.
They were close enough to whisper into your ear, and you could not tell us what they looked like or what they said.
And she starts crying again, and she's looking incredibly flustered.
I have done it again, Miss Annabelle. I shall step back.
Well, Miss Levine, we do appreciate your time and your consideration. I do know this has been quite the stress on you. Why don't you find yourself a nice cup of tea, or maybe something a tad stronger if you're up for it, and settle in for the night. And if we have any other further questions, I'll be sure to bring someone else with me next time.
And she sort of wipes her nose and eyes with a handkerchief and descends downstairs.
As she's leaving, oh, wait, which way did this assailant run?
She looks at you and she tries to think.
Please don't cry.
Says
Please don't cry.
Can't remember.
Okay.
She doesn't cry, but she says she can't remember, and then wipes her face again with her handkerchief and departs.
Well, Mr. King told us that the maid was an eyewitness, but according to the maid, the chef and some other individuals came out with knives. Perhaps they have also witnessed something.
It's quite possibly. We should check in with the others and see if they've ascertained anything from Mr. King. Otherwise, maybe regroup and share a little bit of knowledge that we've learned from Miss Levine.
Yeah,
I'm going to flip over to... Oh.
Sorry. I think as that's going on... I'm sorry, John, I forgot your character's name already.
Gale.
I think that while the others are harassing that poor maid, Swifty and Gale, who we've worked together before, and I know your ways, so I think I might give you, like, a look that's like, I'm going to distract this guy if you want to, I don't know, go searching around, see if you can find anything relevant. And then I will just start laying into him with, like, standard warden questions, like the most basic stuff, like, could you please give your full name for the record? May I see your identification, sir? You know, just...
Sign here, initial on these 3 X's.
Right, could you please sign this to show that we, the wardens, have arrived as requested and that we are providing the assistance that you require?
Is there a notary on property?
Right. We will have to call one, but I can also have this post notarized if you want. It does cost more.
Gale got the hint.
Distract him.
Gale got the hint, and he's sort of irritated because he was really enjoying these smoked meats, but he's going to play along, I guess.
Don't worry, Swifty is going to put an entire thing down his, like, one of his pouches as a reward for later.
Just walking around with a sausage-shaped pouch.
Leave it alone.
Nope, I will not.
All right.
Sausage in your pocket. You're just happy to see me.
So he's incredibly disturbed by watching you put that sausage into your pouch. But go ahead and make a deceive roll, and you can have a best of 2 modifier on it.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Because he's very gullible.
Gullible with gout. Sounds like quite the catch.
Gullible Gouty.
My greatest.
I got a 16, but I have a -1 modifier to that, so I got a 15.
Yeah, and he's totally buying it. He's like, "Oh, if it is standard procedure, where do I sign?"
And Swifty is going to like pull out all of these forms. Like, he's got requisition forms. Like, we're going to need some, you know, some stuff for surveillance, so you'll need to sign for this one. I do think, based on what I hear, that your maid is going to need some therapy. That is a separate form. Here is a waiver of indemnity that, you know, says that any damage we cause to your property is not the fault of the wardens, and we cannot be held responsible, etc., etc.
This form is for the acquisition of the requisitions.
Right, and you will need to sign these in triplicate, and I will need to present the blue copy to the warden commander. You will need to sign the yellow copy over to City Hall.
Usually Bo does this stuff for me.
I understand, sir, but in this case, we cannot have anyone but the initial requisitioner and askant making the signatures. I understand that normally, anyway, please. And I'm just like laying out all of this paperwork.
Initial requisitioner, he says, confused and muddled. Gale, you can do whatever you want in the house, outside the house. You basically got free roam unless Bo Preston catches you.
I will poke around here and sort of nonchalantly move around the room looking for anything of note.
Yeah, as you look around the room, it's just this really fancy house. Whoever this guy is, well, you know who he is. He's this executive for something called the Providence Trading Company, but he's rich. He makes tons of money. He makes the big bucks, basically. All these fancy furnishings. There's like this liquor in there, which costs more money than you probably make in a year, just sitting out on a cabinet. There's a couple of bottles. Someone might not even notice if one goes missing. You see the posters with Miss Marguerite Lynn's pictures and things on top. You can see that there are indeed autographs on there. One says to Mr. King, and you see a couple of those, and one of them seems to say "last one," and then it's signed Miss Marguerite Lynn.
I'm going to make a mental note that maybe in the future with my lovers, maybe they should call me Mr. as well. And
it's a pet name.
So I'm not finding anything that sticks out at me as being pertinent and or weird or out of the norm.
Not here in this drawing room, except I guess one thing's out of the norm, and that is a sausage-shaped pouch on Swifty's belt.
Well,
you hear some sobbing coming from the hallway, and you hear Fontenot's voice. I did it again.
Well, I'm going to start slipping out, and I hear the sobbing outside and sort of double take back because I don't think I want any of that. But then I think to myself, you got to do the job, man. You just got whatever's happening out there, just tough it out. And so I walk out, and I'm guessing I come out about the time they're finishing and she's walking away.
If that's what you'd like, yeah, we can do that.
Okay. Is she all right?
I believe she's going to be. She's quite shaken up. It seems that the events that took place out on the veranda seem to have definitely taken their toll on her. She doesn't seem quite to... not able to recollect quite what happened, nor who it was, or what they looked like, even though she says that they came right up next to her and whispered something in her ear, and I'm still trying to figure out how someone could get so close, and you can't even recall if it's a male or female voice. It just seems all a bit odd, Mr. Fontenot.
Well, Swifty is keeping Mr. King occupied. If we want to take a deeper look at some things that he might not want us taking a deeper look into, we have a little bit.
As you say that, you hear Swifty's voice rise. Oh no! This is the wrong form! Oh, hold on. Wait a minute, I'm sorry. This is Form 235B. I need to get Form 235D. I'm so sorry.
Silly me.
Well, you know,
We're going to start all over.
according to Miss Levine, it's quite possible that the chef was also a eyewitness to the murders, so I think I would go to check out the kitchen, and if I happen to run into the chef while there, well, then I can just play it off as I've come to ask him some questions.
Right. I could go try to check out the veranda if you'd like, or I could try to accompany you.
Well, they said there was no blood to be found from the alleged gunshot wound, or shotgun wound, at 10 feet distance. Does that sound about right to you? I'm not much one for firearms.
I have a little in survive. Could I make the assumption that that didn't sound right from that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, even without it, you would just say, yeah, for sure. If that person was actually hit with a shotgun, yeah.
Miss Annabelle, that don't sound too right. Unless they were shooting blanks out of that shotgun, there would have been, and even if they were shooting blanks, you might have had a little blood from just the concussion of it.
Well, I suppose we could, I do believe that we should go get our companion and continue on this conversation. I don't know that we'll find much snooping around his home, given that the following and all that seems to be happening in other locations as well. I don't believe it would have anything to do with this location.
So you mean I could have just stayed there and ate?
Well, you're free to do as you like. I wish you'd eat a little less, or at least a little more politely, but
I gotta
sure,
keep
I
my
suppose.
energy up.
Well, he is doing a fine job of keeping the master of the house busy. We might as well take the opportunity. So why don't you take the parlor over there, and you take that room over there, and I'll go check the kitchen.
That sounds fine by me. So we're gonna, I guess, split up to a couple different rooms. Split
Cool.
the party.
Let's start with the kitchen, and Swifty will come back around to you too. Fontenot, you pop into the kitchen, and there is a tall, skinny, white guy, lots of acne. He just looks exhausted, and he's leaning against a stove, and he's smoking a cigarette. And he says, I don't think you're supposed to be in here.
Mr. Vandergrease, I assume.
That is me.
Yes, I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. I am conducting an investigation at the behest of your master, so I shall ask the question here. Did you see the incident in which 2 of the servants were killed? I have been informed by the maid that you came running out with a knife.
Yeah, by the time I got out there, they were dead. Person was gone. He offers you a cigarette.
I'll pass. So that is not quite the way that Miss Levine explains the situation. She seemed to indicate
Looking confused.
when you came out of the house with the blade in your hand is what caused the assailant to take flight.
Well, that might be the case, but I didn't see him when I got out there.
So could I, kind of looking at his facial expressions and his demeanor, try to get an idea of whether he's being truthful or if he's hiding something?
Yep. Yeah, go ahead and make an assess roll.
That would be 14 plus 2 is 16.
Yeah. You are pretty sure that he is being serious. And yeah, that he clearly thinks that that she's pretty confused. And yeah, by the time he got out there, the person fled. Maybe they saw him, but yeah, he didn't catch anything of the other person.
All right, so I'll turn around and start to leave the kitchen, but in the door I'll stop and do that Columbo look back. Say, one other thing, sir. Did you hear the report of a shotgun blast prior to going outside?
He takes a drag on the cigarette and blows it out and says, "Yeah, that's why I came running. That and never seen Mr. King run so fast in his life."
Yes, a bit out of character for him, given his physical predilection.
Yeah, it was definitely tough on him. Yep, heard the shotgun. And that's why I popped out, and the kitchen is right next to the back door. You would have seen that as you popped in, so he would have heard all the noise and gone out.
Right, so one last question on this. Mr. King running, did he appear to be moving fast for a man in his condition, or did he appear to be moving as if a man that didn't have that condition?
Definitely with the condition, just yeah, not much to frighten a man in his position normally.
All right, well, I appreciate your time, Mr. Vandergreets, and I will leave you to your ministrations.
So
Just winging it.
let's go to Annabelle next. Annabelle, there are a couple other rooms on the first floor that you can sort of check the doors on. There's like a dining room. There's a laundry. There seems to sort of be like a second drawing room. Utilities. There's a stairwell going upstairs, and then there's a door that goes out the back.
I think I want to go out the door to the back. And I want to take good care to look at the door and to be sure that the door frame, the door handle, all that's in good repair. There doesn't seem to be any attempts to break into the home through this door, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, you look at the door and stuff, and you can make an assess roll if you really want to get into that. But based off of what you've got right here with your basic intuition, the door looks great.
Okay. Then I'm going to step out into the backyard and just kind of have a look-see around, see if I see anything in the backyard while Gail's checking out the front yard.
Yeah. And it looks like like everything's been left as it was as of 2 nights ago when it happened. There's the carriage has been moved, but there's definitely some blood stains from where the folks were murdered, had their throats incised. What was it?
Incisions upon their neck areas.
Yeah. And one is sort of in the middle of the drive, and then one is off by the stables. So in the back area, there's stables, and then there's a carriage house, and then there's sort of a driveway between them and the manor proper.
Okay, certainly. Did I miss one of the people telling us what they did with the bodies after the attack? Did I miss that as a person, not as a player?
They haven't mentioned it
okay,
yet.
Thank you. Then, yeah, I think I'm probably going to head back inside and wait in the atrium for the boys.
On my way out front, I am probably, if I see that laundry room, going to go in and see, are the clothes in there clean or dirty?
The clothes in there are clean. It seems like Miss Levine has been doing her job there, but there are a lot of tissues in the garbage can. Seems like someone's been crying in here a lot.
I am going to take a little look around, and if I see the coast is clear, I'm going to just grab a pair of these comfy rich person socks and put them in my pocket and make my way out to the front door.
Alrighty, and you open up the front door, and the door opens. There's sort of this porch, and then also, the steps that you all came in on. The porch sort of wraps around to the side of the house, but the events as they happened were in the back where Annabelle was.
I'm gonna just circle around, and as I circle around to the back, I'm going to be checking windowsills and looking for weird footprints that don't make sense, like somebody walking up to a window and back.
Hey, go ahead and make me a search roll for that kind of thing. So D20 plus your proficiency plus your relevant characteristic.
That is a 22.
Yeah, so you look around and you don't see any footprints around the house itself, and you don't see, it doesn't look like anyone's been tampering with the windows either. But you do see a blood-covered flathead screwdriver with a name carved into its handle, Providence Company Construction. And you find it sort of in a bush near the back of the house.
Under his breath, Gale rolls his eyes and says, "God damn it," and he pulls out the new socks he just grabbed and puts one over his hand and grabs the screwdriver and sort of folds the screwdriver into the sock so it's protected and puts it back in his pocket. And then he'll make his way into the area we were meeting.
The evidence collection sock.
Yes, a very important sock.
Sorry if you hear Pogo and Bones in the background.
Yeah. You hear him yipping. That's probably Pogo. Swifty, you're the last one to just cover here. What have you been up to while these three have been poking around?
So once I go through an obnoxious amount of paperwork with him, I'm going to ask him what he's doing. What was the construction site that he was visiting prior to this attack?
Oh, the construction sites. I think there were some old world depots for
office,
home. not Home Depot, not Office Depot. No, grain depots. Yes.
Okay. And
it's right off the river. These new ones. We're putting up a new Providence Trading Company headquarters there.
Who owned the land prior to your construction? Is there anyone upset about this?
Oh, they've been just abandoned buildings for the longest time. The city owns them, and we figured we could tear it down, put it to some use.
Okay. You didn't answer my upset question.
Oh, was anyone upset?
People upset with you?
People are always upset, but I don't think anyone had any quarrel with us about that.
Okay. Please sign this form. and then I'll just go back to... Because I don't know that what was the play that you last saw your friend in?
Oh, I go to everything that Miss Lynn is in. I can't... The last one, I think it was... well, to be honest, I'm not I don't like the arts that much, but I think it was like, I don't know, Dr. Faustus or something like that. But this, the new one I'm excited for, The Black Dog.
Like Pogo? Actually, I don't know what color Pogo is.
He's black now.
Good job.
He is vicious.
Oh. I have no clue who Pogo is. I'm sorry.
Do you think you could get me tickets? I've never been to the theater before. I think it sounds fun. And if
for investigatory reasons, and how much paperwork would that require?
I think it is for investigative reasons, because I would love to see Miss Lynn in her element and get a sense of her character and acting abilities. And I think I might be able to expedite the paperwork on that one.
Well, let's see. He says, I'll see. I believe that opening night, I should look this up here. I think opening night is in 2 days from now. So I'll see if I can manage anything in the meantime.
Okay, if you do manage to get tickets, please just leave them at the warden office for Swifty Bunk 2.
Not
That's
Swifty
my
Bunk
address.
1, that's somebody completely different.
That's right. Swifty Bunk 1 is my mortal enemy, but
Hate that guy!
only because he's just as good at his job as I am, and he's very nice. I can't stand it.
Those guys are the worst.
I hate those guys.
And he looks in his daily journal, and he says, "Oh, the black. I can't believe I forgot. One of Miss Lynn's shows. It's tomorrow evening. So if I can get it for you before then, yes, I'll leave it at the warden's quarters."
Okay, and then if you just sign this one last piece of paperwork, it says that all of the sausage that I took was for investigatory reasons, and you're not upset about it. Thank you.
Okay.
What sausage?
Yeah.
And then Swifty will stand up, salute, thank him for his time, and leave to the atrium where I assume everyone is. And as soon as I'm out there, I just take off my sausage pouch and throw it to Gale.
Sausage.
All signed and delivered.
Can I roll to catch it?
What was that?
Can I roll to catch it?
You can just catch it. Or do you want to roll to catch it?
Well, he catches it. And he's like, yes.
Sausage.
Makes up for the sock.
You put it in the other sock?
Maybe in the pouch. Well, the sock is clean, actually. I could put it in there.
The pouch is clean as well. Swifty is very, very good at maintaining his equipment.
But he's going to want his pouch back at some point.
Eventually.
No, then I'll just keep it in the pouch.
So it occurs to me I'm not exactly sure whether our main job here is protecting Mr. King, which would require one of us or all of us to stay on the premises and make sure he comes to no harm, or if our main job is to investigate this, in which case there are a couple ways that our inquiry might go, but I don't believe they involve staying here much longer.
Well, we kind of need to know what we are protecting him from, so maybe a little investigation might be a good idea. Speaking of which, wait till you see this. Bam! And I pull out the sock.
Bam.
And I don't unwrap it or anything. I'm just holding it and it's dangling there. And
Gail, I've never seen you have such a nice sock. It's not got any holes in it or anything.
Oh, wait. And I pull out the screwdriver and hand it to Annabelle.
Oh, I'll pull out my kerchief and kind of flick it out and then grab the screwdriver. Now, what does that say there on the handle?
Providence Construction.
Well, that's the construction site that Mr. King owns. Isn't that correct?
It is.
And it's quite bloody. Do I think it looks sharp enough to do the damage that's been described to me?
Not to slit a throat, you think, but maybe to like stab someone in the throat.
Okay.
I mean, definitely. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, not force you to do anything. My only issue is it seems to be that this would not be sharp enough to cut a throat, or more, maybe stab a jugular. But if we'd done something to that effect, it'd be a whole lot more blood. But I'm not really sure. Did anybody happen to ask Mr. King what they did with the bodies of the deceased?
No, but I do think that's something we should figure out.
Certainly,
I think we should. Yeah, we should see what these injuries look like.
Yes, because it will make a difference, because it may not be our murder weapon. It may have simply just been dropped and had some blood splattered on it, and that would make it a rather useless bit of information. I'll step back into the drawing room and ask Mr. King one last question about the whereabouts of those bodies, if y'all do mind.
And after you ask him that question, as you're leaving the room, stop in the doorway, turn back and ask him, how long has him and his family been in this area? But make it seem like you just thought of it.
Oh, I believe I can do that. So I'm going to head back into the drawing room. Mr. King, I did have one last question. I hope you don't mind me imposing.
Oh my! And he's got all this paperwork on him, and he's like trying to sort through it. There's like flecks of sausage and cheese, and there's like grease stains in it already. What a mess. Yes, Miss Crossley.
As a medical professional, is there any way that you could let me know where the bodies have been taken to, the ones that have deceased?
Yeah, we had them brought to the nearest Abramus temple, which is like a church in the area, and they're being held for you there. We actually asked if they would just preserve them for now until somebody could take a look.
Wonderful. That's very good foresight on your part, Mr. King. Do keep good mind of those papers. Swifty will be coming back for that, and there's usually a quiz of sorts, so do prepare yourself. And then I'm going to start handing out... Mr. King, one last question. It did occur to me. How long has your family been in these parts? I've been here for quite some time with my folks.
We've only been here maybe almost 10 years, almost.
So you're new to the area. Well, let me be the first of my kind to tell you, welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Not many warm welcomes coming from New England, but so I appreciate yours.
Well, we will be back in touch. We are going to go do some investigating, as it were, on your behalf. If you need anything, please do reach out to the wardens, and we'll be back on our way.
I may have questions about paperwork, but thank you.
Oh, I'm sure a man of your stature can handle it. Bye-bye. And I'm going to shut the door. Swifty, just so you know, I did make a little jest on your behalf. I hope you don't mind. I told him there would be a test on all that paperwork later.
Oh. That's not a joke.
Gail, you told me he didn't actually do that.
No, he definitely does.
Oh, well, then my apologies. Now he's prepped for it, at least. He said that the bodies are being held down at the temple and they're waiting on us, so we should definitely swing by and take a good look.
And,
I think that's a
behind
great idea.
You hear someone clear their throat, and if you turn around and look, it's Bo Preston, and he seems to have just been standing there behind you this whole time. And he says, if I may.
Oh, please, Mr. Preston.
The dogs are, well, one of them in particular are barking at the horses.
Well, that's just Pogo. He doesn't mean anything by it, but we'll go fetch him right now. We were just on our way out.
Well, that's a bit of an assumption you've jumped to there.
Have you ever heard Bones bark at anything?
Well, no, I haven't, but...
I'm pretty sure he's mute, and I just hadn't figured it out yet.
Doesn't mean he's incapable of barking, is all I'm saying, but I believe you're right. It is probably my Pogo, and we shall...
fetch them accordingly.
We'll retrieve our dogs now, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Preston. So we'll run out back and go get the dogs, I suppose.
He would also like to bring up that since I assume we've relayed all of this information to each other,
yeah.
and we've debriefed a little, he finds it very strange and creepy that this maid says that someone whispered something and now she can't remember anything about it. So he wants to go to the library, his favorite place in the city, and see if he can dig up anything on anything that could have that sort of mind control ability, because that sounds highly illegal.
Well, you know, Swifty, way back in my family, there were these things called gree, which is I suppose your people would call it a hex of sorts. And I wonder if there's some sort of old time Louisiana voodoo magic being at play here.
Entirely possible. That's why we go to the library to find out.
You know, I had a thought about libraries that I wanted to tell you. I think you should go see one of those plays because to me, a play is really just a library in person.
Yes, you see Swifty's mind blowing as you say that.
So when Swifty starts talking about the library and then the conversation quickly goes south, I'm going to reach into my backpack and I'm going to pull out a book, The History of Backwater, and I'm going to look at Annabelle and say, how long did he say he had lived here?
Oh, he's only been here, he said, about 10 years, come from New England.
Damn it, they're probably not going to be in here. But Swifty, you said that the properties, the depots along the river were old and abandoned. I'd like to search through the History of Backwater book and see if I can find out anything about those properties that are now in the possession of the... I have terrible handwriting. No, that's not the name of them. The Providence Company.
Be a great name.
Swifty has checked that book out many times from the library and will say, when you're in the index, you want depot, but not home, not office. Said train or
Weirdly.
bus.
It's not intuitive in the slightest.
So I will look for entries for depots.
Yeah, go ahead and make me your research roll.
That would be 13.
13. Do you have a special ability with that too? I'm trying to remember.
It is my mastery skill.
Mastery
gotcha,
skill.
okay.
Oh my goodness.
Gotcha.
I don't know
So
what that.
fancy.
I don't know what that means, but
It means if you get a 19, you
that's right.
crit. Yeah. So, with a 13, you said?
Yeah.
With a 13, go ahead.
I was going to see if my adapt skill would apply, but it's only when I use a skill that is 0 or -1, and mine is not. So.
Yeah, so you look through the book and you see that there are some old depots there. They also have some notes about different Home Depots, just really detailed list.
The cross-referencing in here is amazing.
Yeah. One about a Staples.
I was mid-drink.
Sorry. And but yeah, for grain depots, you find them. There's lots of notes on there. Historically, there are a lot of these depots alongside the river, in and outside of New Orleans here. And you don't see a lot in terms of the history, but what's your luck value?
I am on odd.
Okay. It's your lucky day because someone has made a note in the marginalia, might have even been Swifty, who knows. But they've noted some things about these depots in particular. You seen somebody scratched handwriting that it seems to be a note of crimes, mostly listing trespassing, which has happened here, and a few other crimes, and then also missing people, and then a couple of names. Byron Hiller, M, 12. Wendy Castle, F, 42. Jean-Pierre Bissette, M, 65. It's a handy book you got there.
Swifty has also been looking over your shoulder while you're reading this, and at one point he definitely just flips the pages to show you his favorite entry, which is the Burger King, which has a beautiful lithograph engraving of the actual Burger King in his robe and crown. It's beautiful.
With his
Like,
frozen plastic face and everything.
Yep, I've always
Like
wanted
this
to visit
clown
that.
bowing before him. Someone with pigtails.
On his arm.
Yeah, she's just like, godly.
Well, everything seems just pretty humdrum about the depots, though I noticed that 3 people have been listed as going missing from around that area. A young boy, an older gentleman, and a middle-aged woman. I'm not sure that means anything, but I found that quite interesting that 3 people have gone missing from the same spot. But I'll just file that away for now and close my book, put it back in. So I believe we was off to see the bodies.
We're off to see the bodies. Sorry. Yeah.
Yes, I would love to go get a look at the body just so we know what kind of murder weapon, what kind of, different things we might be able to ascertain before we go out looking into places of interest.
I would be surprised if we find puncture wounds that the screwdriver would do, because no shortage of people back there at the house described them as slit throats.
Certainly. But I would like to see for myself, so. I believe we will head over to that place.
The
that I
Abramus
forgot.
Temple.
Yeah, there you go.
So as you're about to go, you stop by to pick up your dogs who are tied up over by the stables, and they're very happy to see you. Pogo in particular is yipping away. Bones is just so well behaved, waiting for you. And Annabelle, just as the last thing that you notice here, as you get closer to the stables, you do see some things that are peculiar to you. You actually find the remnants of the shotgun that was used to shoot at the assailant here. You find it's sort of off on the side of the stable, like it was ditched or thrown or something. But the shotgun, the barrel is actually bent up, which is pretty incredible.
Fellas, would you mind joining me over here by the dogs for just one moment? I seem to have located the shotgun that was supposedly used to shoot. I don't know how you'd manage to shoot somebody with this. It's bent all out of shape.
I don't know how you 2 managed to miss this, being outside checking the perimeter while we was inside conducting.
Making women cry, yes, I remember that bit.
Well, at that particular time, I was discussing murders with a greasy young fella in the kitchen. But
So let's not focus on our mistakes, Mr. Fontenot. Why don't we focus on what we do know?
It's not a
so that looks
regulation
like a
bend.
gun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, Swifty, I cut you off. What was that, sir?
That is not a regulation bend in that shotgun barrel.
Are there such things as regulation bends and shotguns?
No, not really. Hold on. Let me take a look at that. And I'm going to grab it from her.
Yeah.
And I'm going to examine the barrels, looking for particular points where it looks like there was enough pressure put on it to bend it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so you, let me see. Is there a certain skill you want to use? You could use like survive, for example.
Survive would be a good one for me.
Yeah.
Try not to sound too eager.
I rolled a 12 plus 1, 2, 14.
Nice. Yeah. So you actually notice a couple things. It seems like you know your way around a shotgun. One, the shotgun definitely was fired. You could tell. So maybe it was bent afterwards. But it looks like maybe you think somebody took it with their hands or something and bent it. So you can tell like they grabbed onto the barrel and bent it up.
So there's like some finger indentations in it.
Yep, exactly.
Hey, y'all, take a look at this here. You can almost see where the fingers put so much pressure on it when they were bending it that they pressed it in.
My God, man, what kind of fingers it would take
10 of them at least.
to
Well,
bend
are you sure
and-
there's 10? Count 'em for me.
Now, you know I ain't.
Never been much of a cipher.
I'd like to count the finger pressure points for myself.
Yeah, we'll say there's 10.
Gail, we're gonna have to work on your mathematics.
Well, just because it's an above average number of fingers for a person, don't mean that it's important here.
It's
Look,
not above average for most people, Gail.
So
It
meanwhile,
is.
back at this gun, imagine not so much the number, but the finger type itself that would be required to bend the steel of the shotgun and leave impressions.
Well, it would be quite an impressive feat. Well, not feat, hand.
I wouldn't want to get between him and a bag of sausage.
A pouch of sausage.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I'm trying.
You have caused me to break character once too many times this evening. So... All right, so this seems like inhuman strength that would be required to do this.
Yeah.
Would I know of any folk tales, history, or anything that talks about a creature that seems to be capable of doing something like that?
I would say, at least off the top of your head, you could probably think of like a dozen of them. You know, plenty of that stuff in myth and legend. Might need more to narrow it down.
Gotcha.
Would my nature lore tell me of a particular beast that may be in the area? One of the more setting-specific things going on?
Yeah, you can go ahead and make that roll.
$11 + 2 + 1.
Oh, now he can count.
14. The player can
Yeah,
count.
I mean, you think like, yeah, there's, sort of monstrosities, like bigger sort of mutated forms of animals and all that. But these are clearly human, or they look like they've got 10 digits. It's probably something human-like. So probably not any of the beasts in the area.
This sort of looks pretty human to me, I'd have to say. I was trying to think of maybe like a Bigfoot type creature, but Bigfoots tend to have 7 fingers. So
I did not know that.
Things I have
I
heard.
think Swifty probably read about that somewhere. Is that true? 7 fingers there, Swifty?
I'm trying to remember how many fingers and toes Momo actually has. Is it
16.
16? Yep.
there was a misconception that Bigfoots had 12 fingers, but around 10 years ago, I'd say, they wrote a book that Sasquatched that misconception.
Jesus Christ.
That was highly contrived, and I appreciate it for that fact and that fact alone.
Well, gentlemen, what I'm wondering is why they would discard this. Bend it, for that matter, and discard it. It obviously wasn't done by the young man who shot the gun. A man of that strength would have very easily fought off any attacker with the...
The young lady,
Laceration.
Miss Levine, did say that after the shotgun blast went off and apparently had no effect upon the assailant, that they closed the distance between the shooter and himself, and that's where the murder happened at that point. So perhaps it's the same creature is what I'm getting at.
Oh, yes.
You know, took it from him, and then what need would he have for a finger indented shotgun at that point? You might as well throw it in a bush.
I suppose that's fair.
I mean, but if the shotgun didn't do anything to him, why would he feel the need to destroy it?
He might have destroyed it before something was tried to be done with it. That might be why it didn't hit its mark, because he was bending it in the process of shooting it.
Is such a thing even possible?
Well, I didn't think this would be possible, but look here, the evidence right here.
Can we somehow take this to see if there are, are there shells in this? Are there discharged shells in it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can try to pop it open.
I'm gonna break it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's break action. You pop it open. There is one unused shell and one expended cartridge.
All right, I'm gonna pull the used cartridge out and then just like tip the barrel to see if the
Pellets
fall out.
Are
there pellets in
out
the
of the
barrel? Is what I'm asking.
No pellets in the barrel. So if it was bent, you'd be guessing it'd be bent after the shot or something.
Right. So if he shoots, nothing happens. Then why is this gun destroyed? Do we think maybe this person is scared of loud noises, or
It may have
he's
been
very confused?
It may have been in the tussle of hand-to-hand combat, I suppose, but until we figure out who did this heinous act, I don't know that we'll be able to truly understand that. But I would say that whoever could bend this would be mighty a foe to have to tussle with toe-to-toe.
I say we get to the temple and
yes, let's do that. And while we go, I'll wonder why anybody who could do that would have need of a screwdriver to cause death to somebody, or for that matter, a blade for the slicing of a neck. You could crush a barrel of a gun, you could just as easily crush a skull, I would think. But I'll think on it, I shall.
Certainly.
Maybe our killer is an artist. Doesn't want to use brute force. Huh?
He has standards. All right.
So it's starting to get dark out, and did you want to head over to the temple? Is that the plan?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you start to walk through the streets here in New Orleans. The temple is in the Docks District, which is over by the riverside. So you're sort of walking through the French Quarter, and it's evening. It's pretty lively. There's like gaslit street lights, basically. As you walk through town, it's starting to get darker and darker, and eventually, standing before you is this large, boxy building, which looks to be made of stone. Though it's really old world concrete, patched here and there, sort of has a sleek, almost cubist appearance to it. And there's a series of wide concrete steps leading up to the front door, which is a wooden double door.
So, I'll head up. I would know, my character would know if it's something that we usually just walk straight in or if it's a knocking situation.
Yeah. And you would probably know that these temples are open all night to anybody, so you can walk on in. And as you walk up to the door, actually, the door opens before you, and an older man wearing some robes stands before you, and as you approach, he says, "Wardens, I've been waiting for you." And that's where we can end tonight's session.
All right.
No, I decline. Try again.
No, this has been a blast. I'm enjoying the investigative aspect of it. I really like that. I wish sometimes we were better investigators, but we'll talk about that off screen. So, hey, Asa, thanks for running us through this. Alex, thanks for joining us with us. We are going to continue this next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Same bat time, same Percentile Vice channel. We'll pick up and continue on with this. I am looking forward to see where this goes, where it
Pogos.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We will be back again next Tuesday. You can probably catch us on Saturday doing a little talk show and working on some encounter cultures and PCs. So come check us out then, too. But if not, we'll see you Tuesday for the continuation of the actual play of Backwater with its creators, Asa and Alex. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
If you're interested in playing, be sure to check out backwatergames.itch.io. It's right there on the screen. And check it out.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we got a drive-through
Yeah.
RPG too, if you want to check it out there.
Drive-through RPG.
Just do the Control F and search.
Use those hotkeys.
Hotkeys, more hotkeys. Yeah, please go check it out. I've got the core rule book. It is a great read. It is well put together. It's a lot of fun, coolness. Check it out. Go get it. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Oh, my God, the sausage sock. What the hell?
It was great.
That's a great name.